Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cantina Social Hour. Happy Friday. I think this is our first stream of the month. So hello, welcome to June, even though we're like almost halfway through the month. Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us tonight. I see that we have a good little crowd forming, 47 in the house. Awesome. Thank you guys for being with us tonight because there is something big going on right now that you guys know full well. And this is kind of the first that I've been able to talk about it because Hasbro decided, as you know, they delayed the HasLab. They delayed it. They decided to announce it while I was on vacation out of town. So I've been away and not able to really focus on it a whole lot. But here we are. I'm here. I'm ready to talk about it. We're going to talk about the HasLab Star Wars The Vintage Collection, Mos Eisley, Cantina. Finally, after all this time, the big Mos Eisley Cantina, right? We're all really excited about it. So I want to see who's with us tonight here in the house, getting us started on tonight's conversation before we introduce our guests tonight and see who is hanging out with us here in the Cantina. Dodgson in the house. How is it going, Dodgson? Indeed, back the bar. Gerard, how are you doing? I love the spelling of the name. That's great. John, how's it going? How are you doing? Dennis, how's it going? Collector Phil, how are you doing? History was made. Sean, how is it going? Yeah. No, none. I'm having a hard time saying your name. I apologize, but thank you for the update on that. Thank you for being here. Adam, how's it going? Good to see you, Adam, as always. Adam is our bouncer. He's making sure that everything is going off without a hitch. He's making sure that nobody is causing unscrupulous trouble in the bar area. And if you are, Adam's going to see you out by tapping your shoulder and asking you to kindly remove yourself from the premises. Jeff, how's it going, Jeff? Good to see you. Larry, how are you doing? Pico B1, Cantinians in the house. Absolutely. GA, how is it going? Thank you for being here. Very nice. Michael, how are you doing? Let's get this party started indeed. Rick, how is it going? Thank you for being here as well. Toys Are the Way. How's it going, Toys Are the Way? Cantina vibes for sure. Dr. Jones, how are you doing? Off to a really good start. Better Rate Bob, how's it going? We got Tim in the house. Tim, how are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for the update. All right, July through November, how's it going? Dark Nerdy, how are you doing? We got Paul in the house. Paul, how are you doing? Good to see you. Nian, how are you doing? Mary, how's it going, my friend? Thanks for joining us. Riley Bob, how are you doing? Good to see you. We got Scott. How's it going? GA, how's it going? William, how are you doing? Good to see you once again. Jason, what is up? Where does the we're going to talk about that. All right, we're going to talk about the Cantina ban. That's one of the things I wanted to kind of try and dispel with tonight's guests. We're going to talk about that. All right. Trevor, how's it going? All right, we're off to a really good start. 66 in the Cantina this evening. Awesome. Execute order 66. Great. But be careful when you do that because you never know what might happen. All right, so in the house tonight, I've got two guests. One of them is a returning champion of Star Wars The Vintage Collection, and the other is also a champion of the Vintage Collection, both from banthaschool.com. We got, firstly, our pal, Crazy Chris, is with us tonight. Chris, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And Chris's partner at banthaschool.com. We got, for the first time ever on Cantina Social Hour, Bret. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Super excited that you are both here. And Bret, for us to get you on the show for the first time, thanks for doing this and hanging out with us tonight.
And what you don't know is that even though Bret and I work together, this is proof of life for me, for Bret right now, because I wasn't sure for a while if he was actually alive.
I have to give some indication every once in a while. You don't call like 911 on me or something.
Nice. So, guys, thank you for being here. We have some stuff to talk about. It is the HasLab that's going on. So usually I have some other segments that I interweave. I'm going to hold those to the end so that we can work our way through the big news, the main thing, because there has been some news of this new Cantina that we've all been clamoring for, with some figures we've all been clamoring for a long time. So let's go ahead and take a look at the announcement that was made when these figures were first, when this project was first breaking the news. All right, there you have it. The HasLab Star Wars The Vintage Collection Mos Eisley Cantina is the new HasLab for 2024, succeeding the Ghost, succeeding the Razor Crest, as well as the original, the Sail Barge. Here we are. This is the fourth one for the Vintage Collection. Will it be the fourth one to fully fund? I hope so. So we're going to talk about this HasLab, kind of what it entails. We're going to talk about why you should back it, and kind of dispel some of the misinformation that's kind of flowing around the interwebs, shocking misinformation on the interwebs. We're going to talk about all that. So, guys, how did you feel when you saw, because I mean, there was the leaks, there was the rumors and this and that, but when you finally saw like this video showing, not the video I just showed, but like the video showing like what was happening, what were your initial thoughts about to finally see it like realized as a possible thing you could have in your collections?
Well, since Bret is muted, I think I'll start off. It's for me, it's literally the dream project. I would even, in some respects, it's even more of a dream project for me than the barge was, which is amazing for me to even admit. And the reason why it's the dream project is not just because it's the environment that I've always wanted to fully set up. It's because it's finally time for Tonnika. That's what puts this over the top as the dream project for me. There you go.
Yeah, I was actually sitting next to Chris at whatever event that was. I can't remember yesterday.
Toy Fair.
Yeah, it was the Toy Fair when they announced the HasLab program in the first place with the barge, and I thought, like, I turned and I thought I could like knock him over with a feather. I think he was so stunned. I think he didn't even believe it was real. And this, I think that for me, that was just something so outlandish and unbelievable. Like it did seem like a joke at the time. Like the sail barge just didn't seem like something that Hasbro would ever do. But the Cantina, I'm kind of like with Chris. I think in the end, this is probably something. I'm actually staring over my laptop at a shelf that has the Cantina figures displayed, and it is definitely lacking without this environment that we've been waiting for a really long time. So the barge was amazing, and it's one of my favorite things in my collection, but the Cantina is something that I've probably been waiting for even longer than that.
So just to explain Bret's story, by the way, about Toy Fair, what was it Toy Fair 2018? I think it was 2018. When that was, is when that, and I know we're not here to eulogize the barge campaign, but when that sizzle reel came on, I feel like we've had the rug pulled out from under our feet so many times. I thought it was going to be like a prank, and they were showing the barge, and then eventually they'd pull back, and it would be like a mini rig or something, not a mini rig or like a micro machine or something like that. And they'd show it next to a 3 3/4 inch figure. It would be tiny. That's what I was expecting to happen. I'm like, there's no way they're doing this. Give us the full, wah wah. When they show that it's not a 3 3/4 inch vehicle, it's actually just a little die cast vehicle or something like that. So that's what I was waiting for happen, just to explain why Bret was saying he could have knocked me over with a feather. I was refusing to believe it at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I echo those sentiments 100%. Like this, I've been steadily collecting this line since it came back, The Power of the Force 2. Now, I wasn't around for the vintage days, but I started like when, right before the special edition came out, right before the prequels, and it's just been kind of nonstop, like, every year, whatever Cantina Aliens, like, I made sure that I got them because, those are always my favorite. I was always drawn to that scene, that even people that don't know Star Wars, they know that scene. They know where it's from. So I've been patiently waiting and waiting, hoping one day they would do like a definitive Cantina playset that would supersede anything that's come before. That cardboard one, which is great, 20 some years ago. The little bar sections with the stools they did back in the Saga days, all that stuff was fun. But, they never had like the ultimate Cantina playset that is needed to house, all those. I don't even know how many Cantina alien figures there are. I don't know if either of you guys know off the top of your head, but there's a lot of them. Yeah, it's at least probably 20, 25, somewhere in that area that they've done, if you count all of them. And now here it is. This is the one, like same here, Chris. This is the one thing that I've been wanting from HasLab, is the Cantina, the one dream project. They talk about dream projects or HasLab. Like for me, this has been it. Like it's kind of feels like an apex of like collecting for me. Like if this funds, we finally get some of these figures that are in this set. Like I don't think for me personally it can go any higher than that. So like everything for me is riding on this campaign, like funding and being successful. And I know a lot of people feel that way. So, here's hoping.
I said when this was announced, and if you don't know me from Bantha Sculling, just look at me now, you can see the gray in my beard and the lack of hair up here. I'm getting on in years, and at some point, I think we all feel our collecting mortality. And if this funds, and I get these figures, and then we get the pipelined figures that we're going to talk about later, I kind of feel like I could put a little bit of a point on my collecting career and say, I'll probably never stop collecting completely, but this could be the point where I say, okay, I'm going to start off ramping from the hobby and get more choosy with what I buy, because it's going to be so epic if it funds.
Yeah.
And can I put a point on when you said like everybody knows the Cantina, Victoria?
Mm-hmm.
Just to go nerd on the background. So I don't know what the demographic of the group watching here, but Brett and I remember certainly that there was no home video in 1977, 78. That didn't come out until I think 81, till you could actually watch Star Wars at home. And so you could only watch it in the theater. And to keep Star Wars in the pop culture consciousness, which was very important, we had the toys. I mean, that's why we all, anybody that grew up in the vintage Ken era, that's why we love it so much, is because the toys helped us keep the narrative alive while we were waiting for Empire Strikes Back. But George Lucas also realized he needed to get this stuff back out into the pop culture consciousness. And what's the one scene that he lent out for other properties? It was heavily the Cantina. It went to the holiday, the holiday special, and it went to that weird Richard Pryor, Star Wars special. So Lucas recognized that this is the iconic scene from Star Wars 2. That was the one he lent out to other properties.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the, just piggybacking on that, it's the scene that like kind of changed everything. I wasn't quite old enough to have watched A New Hope in theaters, but like everybody talks about, like just seeing it on screen with when the logo comes up and the music, and then the Star Destroyer coming overhead, like no one had ever seen anything like that before. But the aliens in the Cantina, the music, like that used feel. That it wasn't just like all shiny, like futuristic robots or whatever. It completely transformed, like, I think what people saw as science fiction, and as you're watching it unfold, there's no doubt, I think for most of us, that was like the thing that kind of changed and made you really like fall for Star Wars more than almost anything else, other than maybe Vader showing up in the hallway for the first time. The Cantina just like kind of, I think it symbolizes everything that we love about Star Wars, all the way through what we see on screen to the music and John Williams and the toys and the action figures, everything about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
I can't believe Brett just said he's not old enough to have seen Star Wars in the theater. I'm not even a year older than him.
I was like 4.
Yeah, I was 5. All right, I'm not even a year older than you. I was 5. I saw it in the theater. My dad read me The Crawl. I couldn't even read yet when I saw it. My dad read me The Crawl.
I remember seeing Empire Strikes Back in the theater, but not A New Hope. It was a little bit before me. I think I saw it not originally, but I saw it like, when it got re-released a little bit later, before Empire Strikes Back.
It almost never came out of theaters. So
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember exactly how I saw it. I know
this is a shock. This is a little,
I don't remember.
But behind the curtain, Bret doesn't remember. Bret's memory is that of a hummingbird. It's like 30 seconds and he forgets.
Wait, who is this? Where am I? What's going on?
What show is this? Yeah, no, I mean that's really well said, Bret. I mean, when you're watching that film for the first time, you see the humans, right? You see the stormtroopers, you see the droids, you see the Jawas and the Tuskens that are faceless, right? They're wearing masks. But then you see this cantina where there's all these variety of aliens, and you really see how diverse and rich the Star Wars universe is. And I remember, especially like as a kid, as a young person, like that really like speaks to you. It's inspiring. You see all these crazy aliens like getting into fights and whatnot, and it's just a lot of fun. And for a long time, Hasbro did do a lot of those figures, from Power of the Force all the way until, they focused on them a lot that first decade of the 2000s, and gave us some really good stuff. And so there was a nice little smattering of them to make a scene with, but there wasn't really like a permanent home for them. So we're going to talk about the actual project and see where it's at currently. So as of right now, here is the HasLab for the Cantina. It looks like it is at 4,753 backers out of 8,000. So kind of getting closer to 5,000. It's getting there. And we'll see when we wrap up if we've been able to push anyone else to back the bar. We'll check it and see if that number is increased by the end of this show. I hope we can. But yeah, so basically what you get, there's 2 versions. Just briefly, I know everybody knows the details, but I do kind of want to just touch on it. If you get the standard version, you're going to be paying $399.99. If you get the deluxe version, it's $499.99, but you get some extra alcoves so that you can complete the entire diorama. And there are some differences in the deluxe set with those alcoves because they have some different like greeblies like built into them that you told me a little bit about, Chris, the other day when I was kind of just on vacation traveling and trying to like catch up on everything. There are some differences in those alcoves. So you do get some different ones to kind of build out the entire scene. In addition to that, I mean, first of all, it looks great. There's a lot of there's a number of photos here where you can like really like hone in on it. You get the bar with the dispensary. You get the 3 alcoves if you get the standard, 6 if you get the deluxe. You get the entryway where Luke and the droids enter the cantina. You get a bunch of stools and chairs and tables and drinks there, lots of glassware. And yeah, the big thing they're kind of trying to sell is the accuracy here, because they really studied with Lucasfilm the blueprints and kind of where everything was behind the scenes. The set also comes with figures, whether you get the standard or the deluxe, and a sticker sheet. But you get 3 figures right off the gate. So you have Wooher, who has been made, but it was made back in the Power of the Force 2 Comtech era, and wasn't at the time he was decent, but has not aged well. And then of course there's the version that's been rolling around in the mud that was brought out a little bit later. And then the big ones, you get the Tonnikas. So Cine Tonnika, Bria Tonnika, finally for the very first time offered as 3/4-inch action figures. Those are the base offerings there. There are stretch goals. All right. If we exceed 8,000, 11,000 is going to get you Greedo. All new Greedo figure. 14,000 gets you Nabrun Leeds, which is another figure that has been done before, but will absolutely benefit from a new release. And then another one that would potentially be making its character debut at 17,000 backers, which is Arliel Schutz. And this is a particularly exciting one for me because after the Tonikas, I was always hoping we would get this particular character released at some point. So that's basically, in short, what the offering is. It's the Cantina playset. It's large, but it is also modular, so you can tailor it to suit the needs of your own display space. Did either of you guys get to watch that video that they put up today with Emily and Matt Cohen, kind of going over like how you could tailor it to fit your space?
Yeah, I did. I don't know if Brett did. I saw it today, and unbelievably, it made me even more excited for the Cantina for one reason. And if you want to scroll up, Victoria, a little bit to the shot of the any shot of the base set or the combined right there with the combined set. So if you see on that picture on the far left, you see that exterior of the Cantina. Part of me was like, that's great, but it's going to kind of, the way I plan to display this, it's going to kind of go to waste, that exterior piece. But they showed that you can take that off, which you could take that off, that exterior piece, you can take that off from the entryway, the way they're displaying that. And I'm just like, this gets even better. As I wrote about it, I threw up the video on Bantha Skull and I wrote about it. I said, this is the reverse of the deal between Darth Vader and Lando. He keeps getting better all the time. It doesn't keep getting worse. It keeps getting better. Because now I can set up the interior of the Cantina on one shelf and the exterior on another shelf by popping that off of the entryway. I can set up the outside. I on the stream we did with Tim and John Miko last Saturday, I have that. I'll bring it over the custom. Brett's going to probably be mad that I didn't tell him to buy this. The custom Stan Solo speeder that's right outside the Cantina. So I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. I can set this up on one shelf and then set the interior up. I know you can't see it, but it's going. I already know it's going. It's going right over there. The interior, and that to me just was amazing seeing that. And then again, if you didn't see the video, they showed how, a lot of people are saying, where am I going to put this thing? And I think this view, that's kind of, the common view of the HasLab Cantina, it kind of prejudices you to a top-down kind of, as everybody says, a coffee table display. That's just an option. That's not how I think that's actually, it's very important for me to be able to match the Elstree footprint, which is what they've done. I want it to be able to do that, but I'm never going to display it that way. I want to, fan it out a little bit so I can, see the figures that populate it. And in that video, they showed that on a standard 32 inches wide by 12 inches deep bookshelf, just two shelves, you get, the only things they didn't have out there were the archways, and they can put all this stuff in there. So you could really just go to Target or Walmart and just grab a $30 shelf, and you can display the Cantina, which I thought was huge, a huge aspect of that video.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll go ahead and share just a kind of a glimpse of that for those that maybe haven't seen it yet. So basically, in the video, they kind of showed like, hey, if you just have a standard shelf, it's not the coffee table, it's not like a big thing. You can tailor it to suit the needs of whatever your display space is. If you have shelves that you can put things on, if you want to do the coffee table, sure, you can do that. But this is modular, so you can kind of display it however you want, however you need. And, I agree. I'm not going to have it display like the full thing assembled, because then I feel like you can't see like the figures quite as well. I'm going to kind of break it up, maybe put it across a shelf or two, and then just kind of, be able to appreciate the figures. Because I'm sure you guys know, like even with the cardboard Cantina, like once you put a ton of figures in there, you can't see them as well. So with this, I'd kind of want to go after the same sort of effect, kind of lay them out in a way where I can kind of appreciate, some of these awesome figures, especially these really new figures that we're really stoked on. But yeah, so that's a really great aspect of it, that it is modular, that you can do that sort of thing with it. And we do have 110 in the house, so thank you guys for being here. Hit that like button. The Cantina appreciates it. I mean the HasLab Cantina, because we're watching that number. We're hoping by the end we're going to convince some of you guys to back the bar. We're going to keep taking a look at it. Got a few other friends joining us. Kia ora. Jason, how are you doing? Thank you for being here with us. Awesome. So I guess the next thing I want to touch on here, you guys, is, with regards to this, how amazing is it that, after all this time, after nearly, how long has it been since A New Hope? 1977. It's approaching the half century mark. How amazing is it that finally, after the craziness of the last several decades of, the way things were just like, the story. It was very secretive. It was very hush-hush. It was very like, we can't comment on this. It's finally time for Tonnika. They're finally coming to our collections. How great is that?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Well, a little shout out to you. I know you were definitely at the forefront of that whole movement, and getting Angela, I think, like to be more in the public eye for that was like really cool. So I think the community like owes you a little bit. Like, thank you for that. So congrats. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. I think it's kind of funny with whatever was going on behind the scenes. But if you look back at the history of the line, especially during the golden age when they were pretty much making just about anything that was on screen for 2 frames, it was kind of unbelievable that the sisters never made it into the line. So, but all good things eventually come when you wait for it long enough. So this is great. And kind of like what Chris was saying, like this might be like the moment for a lot of us that are kind of, older and have been collecting for decades, that this is kind of like the epitome of what we do for our hobby. And I think these 2 characters kind of epitomize everything that's great about the line. I think we probably all, Chris for sure, I think we share like a certain joy when we get like an original never before made character that's like a deep backgrounder from the original trilogy, when it actually gets made as a figure. And these 2 are going to be no different. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's exciting to see them. Like, we're looking at that picture right now. It's kind of hard to believe, but yeah, it's upon us. It's going to happen. Hopefully, I guess it's not official yet, but yeah, I don't really think there's much doubt that the thing is going to get funded. We're probably still doubting how far it's going to go, but I think we're definitely going to see the sisters for sure.
Yeah. And, I always talk about, I'm sure Bret was the same way. There's like figures that we get that, you wanted as a kid. Like when I was a kid, I could not figure out why we didn't have Dr. Evazan as a kid. Why do we get Snaggletooth where I couldn't figure out where he showed up in the movie? And spoiler alert, the one we got never shows up in the movie. He's from the holiday special. So, I loved him as a kid, but I'm like, why don't we have the guy that Luke actually gets in the fight with? Why don't we have Grand Moff Tarkin? So those are always special when we got them. I can't say that as a kid I ever noticed the Tonnika sisters. I can't say that I did. I know a lot of people did, because when the line came back, they kind of did those in 1995. They did those surveys, what figures, the fans want that were never made. And of course, Grand Moff Tarkin and, Hutt Slayer Leia were at the top, but the Tonnika sisters were also right there. I didn't appreciate that at the time, but Victoria, as you said, they kind of ran roughshod over like every, for that in the early days, characters you couldn't imagine that you'd get. They were making them. Then they did obviously make Dr. Evazan in that pretty horrible Cantina encounter cinema scene. So once that started happening, then I started looking, and you just realize, I don't know why I didn't appreciate this as a kid. You just realize how prominent the Tonnika sisters are in the Cantina. They get their kind of their own little glam shot, like, so many of the aliens did that they're trying to show off. They get their glam shot, but they're also right when, the whole thing with when, I'm not such a bad pilot myself, that whole scene, guess who's right in the background? If you want to set that diorama up, you need these sisters right there, because they're right there in the background of that shot. They're just they're so prominent in the Cantina that I can't believe I didn't pick up on that as a kid. But, again, as an adult, I did. I am so excited to finally get them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Yeah, they definitely you see them for a couple of shots, and certain ones that they've done like Dapur and like Lisa Absurlin, awesome that they got made, but like you can almost never see them, right? Like they're barely there.
Well, Ellis Hellrot's almost like a smudge on the negative. You can barely see him in the movie.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, it's totally awesome. I mean, this was definitely like a community-wide thing, to push for them after all the years of, like you've said before, Chris, people got tired of asking for these figures to be made because Hasbro would never talk about it. They would be straight up like, we cannot comment. We have no updates. Back during the Legacy Collection like era, when they were doing all those website Q&As where, everybody would send in their questions, like people would ask like, hey, can we get these? And they would say, no comment. We can't talk about it. So, I'm really glad that, we were able to locate Angela and kind of bring her back to the forefront of, give her basically like her first, like she had been totally like separated from Star Wars since the movie. Like that was like, she never had any inclination that, it would be a part of her life again. But now she is going back. She is at conventions. She is making appearances and she is doing things, which is great. But it was a community-wide effort. And, thanks to you guys for your effort as well at Bantha Skull, but Yak Face and from Forlom to Zuckus. And I mean, so many other SWTBC. Like, I know I'm forgetting everybody, but, it was a community-wide thing where everybody said, hey, let's get this petition together and let's make it happen. And, as of now, that petition, it hasn't had a lot of movement. I was looking at it earlier, in fact, but it did get up to 1525 signatures, which is, more than most petitions of that sort get. And it was definitely, spread around by the community back in, I guess we started this in 2021, May of 2021, so a few years now. But yeah, no, we've all kept pushing and pleading and annoying Hasbro with it, every chance we've gotten. And, here we are in June of 2024 and it's finally time for Tonnika. So, I'm stoked. And Angela is stoked as well. In fact, she put a little video together that I shared on Instagram earlier in the week, but I'll go ahead and play it here as well. Just kind of reminding everybody that, hey, we're almost there, but we're not quite there yet. We need to get there. So here is this video clip right here.
Hello, it's Angela Staines, Tonnika sister. We're almost there. The power to get the Tonnika sisters now lies with you. May the force be with you, and let's get this done. After all, it's time for Tonnika, isn't it?
We're this close. Let's keep pushing. And, 8,000 backers. We have both of the sisters. We never have to bother Hasbro again with it. So.
Until the next thing.
For me, this is it. Like, I don't think I think that's it. Like I said earlier, this is like the pinnacle for me as a collector. Like, the Cantina, the Tonnika sisters, all that, like whatever else they make for me, like other than like the mains and stuff, is just like gravy. Like, it'll be fun, but like to me, this is it. Like I'm like this is it. Like basically, that's it. That's the whole thing. Like the Cantina. All right, so let's talk a bit about Make the Mains. A little update on that here. So I'm going to pull this up.
Can we pause just to address one question in the comments really quick?
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Yes, which one?
I'm muting. I'm going home now. It would be no one, no name. I think it was 6:40 your time. Just you can speak to this one.
Yes. Angela is the taller of the two. I'll go ahead and bring that image back up. Right here. She is the one in green. Seni Tonnika. Bria is Christine Hewitt, was the actress that portrayed her, and sadly passed away in 2007. And she was making appearances with Hasbro, with Lucasfilm. She appeared at Star Wars Celebration 3. Yeah, Senny is Angela Staines, and she is the one in green, the taller of the two sisters, which is great that they did that and didn't make them the same height. Like they look great. I mean, I didn't even say that, but they look fantastic. Like at least here in this picture, the likenesses are dialed in.
Isn't Angela 6 foot tall?
I think she's like 6'1". Yeah, she's pretty tall. I think there's a picture of me with her on my Instagram from a few years back. She came down to San Diego, and we went out and got some coffee, and yeah, you can see me standing next to her. I look like I'm really small. So yeah, she's very tall. All right, so make the main. So I'm going to pull this up here. And this comes from our friend Jason Yakface on Instagram. His photo of from the pipeline reveals that were announced as part of the HasLab a week ago. So yeah, we've been talking about, this is another thing we've all been pushing for and asking for, for a long time is, you got to make the mains. These guys have needed updates since, in some of their cases, since the last versions of them came out, like Luke. He needed an update like the day after he came out in VOTC. These guys needed to get done. And it's the kind of thing you always talk about, Chris, where if you make one and then you wait 5 years, the one that's 5 years older isn't going to look very good with the newer one. So It's really important that they make them all together at this time. And, thank goodness it's Luke Skywalker, Ben Kenobi, Han Solo, and Chewbacca.
And I'm going to be personally broke because that is 2 cases of Luke that I'm going to order, a full case of Ben, and 2 cases of Han Solo that I'm going to order.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to, right? I mean, it's like the Cantina. It's another one of those things we've all been waiting for, and it's led up to this moment where these guys are finally going to get their definitive versions that we've been clamoring for, and that have been desperately needed, along with the recently released Leia, or for most of us, the Leia that hasn't been quite released yet. Most of us, but stop doing that. But yeah, to have the full crew like pipelined at once. I mean, I know we still need C-3PO. We still need him for sure. But to at least get these, like, that's huge. This is like tremendously huge, a big announcement.
I honestly hope this is a new pivot. Steve teased that, before the HasLab live stream, that's a new direction for the TVC. I think he was talking about maybe the return to Tatooine, but I think it just indicates a focus. And I think the downside of focus is if this doesn't connect with you, you're missing a big chunk of the line, right? You're gonna, you could potentially have a wave that you don't care about. The upside is that if it does hit your focus, you don't have this torture of this protracted release over 5-10 years from a scene or a focus. I'd much rather they do it this way, and this hits me. I hope whenever they get around to the Bad Batch, they do it that way too, where it's not record 1 year and then 2 years later you get Echo, that type of thing. I hope they kind of adopt this approach where you just get it at once. Again, because the thing you said, Victoria, if figures go together in your display, they need to have a visual cohesiveness. And if you let too much time go by, just think what we have now at photoreal. If you have one figure from a scene that has the old paint applications and one with photoreal, the one with the old paint application sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's 2 pieces to it. Not just having them come out in close proximity to avoid them looking off, but I mean, some of us are going to die soon, so we need to see these things in our collection before that day comes. And so, what's a good example of this with the time is the Rogue One main players that already I say already, it's been what, like 8-9 years, I think, something like that. But basically, you know, Jin and to some degree Cassian, I think they just re-released, like, are not quite up to what modern standards would be. You know, once they try to finish, like, whatever, whenever they get to Baze Malbus, like, that figure is going to be unreal, and everything else in the crew is going to kind of pale in comparison. So I think I don't know. Just, yeah, we're a little older, and the OT characters, we have an affinity for those, but it's kind of unbelievable that it's taken this long. But they can do it now, and with the technology and the skills that the sculptors have, like, these all 4 of these are going to be unbelievable. It's going to be great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You mentioned something the other day on Bantha School, Chris, too, that I kind of want to mention about how when they slot, like, the newer media characters, like, for example, you know, the Acolytes, the show that's on right now, and they've got figures coming for that, you know, very soon, that those do take away from potentially finishing some of these groups that people have been asking for a while, like the Bad Batch, like Rogue One, like Solo, like, you know, those crews that are kind of not able to be completed. And you mentioned that you would be okay with them just holding off on new media until later. And I kind of agree with that. I mean, I feel like if it's only going to be a small amount of figures per year, which it's kind of, you know, it's been smaller for a while.
Yeah.
That maybe they need to kind of hold off and see what resonates with people. And because I understand, you know, Lucasfilm wants to kind of time things so that there's at least something there, you know, in either the Black Series or TVC or Retro even these days. But you know, it would definitely make sense, like, to kind of hold off, because, you know, you also talked about, like, things that are really dangerous, like Vel, and, you know, some of these figures that have just kind of sat there,
Yeah,
and haven't really done anything. They're just kind of peg warming, and that could, you know, that's really risky when we get so few releases each year. I would like to see that approach personally. You know, if it was just kind of, let's see what takes off. Maybe people really like this character, maybe they don't, but, you know, maybe that's better than just kind of rushing into some of these other characters. But then, you know, it's kind of double-edged too. I can see, you know, if you wait too long, people lose their excitement for certain things as well.
And again, I bring this up on every live stream. Quill is the perfect example. I can't think of a more requested figure during season 1 of The Mandalorian. Then he comes out after the character is dead and buried, you know, and after season 2 of The Mandalorian, and he peg warmed. I'm pretty sure you could still get him for below MSRP on Amazon right now. I haven't checked in a while, but so it is a double-edged sword. We all want to, you know, play along with the shows, but my concern with TVC is we seem to, you know, there seems to be less tolerance with peg warming in TVC than there is in Black Series. I'm sorry if I'm sure there's some Black Series fans of your channel and in the comments, but I'm still in disbelief how, you know, mightily Black Series figures have peg warmed over the years, and it doesn't seem to slow that line down at all. But, you know, we had one dud wave in 2012, and it pretty much canceled TVC. So because of that, I'm always nervous of the next dud wave, you know, canceling. We somehow survived the 2018 launch wave, which is a miracle, probably because it was the launch wave, and you know, and they couldn't cancel after one wave. But I always feel like we're one, because of that Phantom Menace wave in 2012. I always feel like we're one bad wave away from having the axe fall in TVC again. So you know, that's part of the reason why I make those comments, is just I don't think we can risk too many peg warmers in TVC. My personal Walmart is, it's a high volume Walmart. It's being shut down by three figures, 2 of which have been there for 6 months, and a Vel, which has been there for a year, over a year actually.
Yeah, the new characters are definitely risky, like that. I mean, you know, Vel and like the Cassian from that wave, I think they were both 2 per case, I want to say. Yeah. And like for new characters, I mean, especially Vel, like, that nobody knows, you know, like putting in 2 per cases.
And that's the other thing. And you know, talking a little bit about we could talk a little bit about the split with fan channel waves and, you know, basically brick and mortar waves at this point. to me, brick and mortar relies more on the casual fans, and they just don't recognize these names. They recognize, they're going to recognize the names pretty much from the first 6 movies. Are the ones that they'll recognize. But these characters, hopefully they can migrate more to the fan channel wave that can better, that's more for the hardcore fans, and keep the brick and mortar to more of the standard. I mean, I'm excited that if it happens, a Stormtrooper might actually hit brick and mortar. A definitive Storm. How long has it been since a Stormtrooper has been on the pegs? It would have been TVC. No, there was the Black Series one, the Black Series 3 3/4 inch one. But it's been a long time since the Stormtroopers in brick and mortar. It's been has it been 10 years? I can't remember if that was the blue phase or the orange phase. It was the blue phase, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so it'll be 10 years since the Stormtrooper has been at brick and mortar. It should have been at brick and mortar with the Walmart exclusive wave, but we all know that Walmart, when it comes to TVC, Walmart seems inept about getting their exclusives actually in stores. So I'm just happy that, we might actually see them at brick and mortar for the first, and we'll see, this one. Did you know about this one, Victoria? We'll see that one in stores too.
Yes, I think we will. I hope we will. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there's you talk about like casual buyers, and I think about that but when you have like epic heroes on the pegs and retro collection on the peg, which I know like they've kind of downsized on retro a little bit, like, as far as like how they're selling them. I think now it's mostly those boxes, it seems like. Do you think like a casual collector, when they're looking at the price point variances between the 3 lines, might still try to go with TVC, or do you think if they're more casual, you think they'd be more inclined to go with one of the lesser cost options?
It's impossible for me to answer just because of who I am, but I would think that the TVC card alone would draw the casual collector. The casual, fan, real Star Wars fan, the person that grew up with the movies. I think they're going to be drawn to the TVC.
You mean like half of the folks that are making videos about how the HasLab's terrible and they don't understand why it's the Cantina, and yeah. Bret, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I was thinking as Chris was talking, I was like, we make it a pastime as collectors to, attack Hasbro and their decisions and everything they do. It's like being a sports fan. Like, you're watching TV and you want to throw your shoe at the TV when, your player does something, or the coach make a stupid decision, like as if we know better what goes on behind the scenes. Like, we're going to make a better decision, but we second guess everything. But if you think about it, there's just no room. I mean, Chris kind of touched on it. There's no room for error here with TVC. You do feel as a collector that it's kind of like on the razor's edge, that, when things are going pretty well and collectors are generally happy, like it could be okay. But, a peg warmer here or there, or a poor selling vehicle, or, even if, it hasn't happened yet, but even if there's a bust, like when it comes to HasLab for TVC, like it could really like sink the line. There's just no leeway there. Like back in the day, you feel like Hasbro could just pump out any and everything, and, a third of it would be, very, trash, like unpopular, but the rest of the stuff would carry it and it would be fine. But there's so much out there. There's so much diversity in the fan base as far as what they're looking for, what characters they want to see, whether it's the old school or whether it's the new media or whether it's the TV shows or the sequels, whatever it is. Like, people want to see different things. But I think, yeah, I'm obviously a little biased towards the OT, but I do want to see a lot of the new stuff as well. Like, I do want to see the Bad Batch figures. I am kind of excited about more Rebels figures that we're seeing now. I was really into that last season of Clone Wars. Those last couple episodes were just like awesome. So these more recent figures that Hasbro seems to be focusing on from those last couple of episodes, like that's making my day almost as much as like some of these OT things that are coming out. But there's not enough breadth in the line to do all of it. So I'm kind of like, if we just had to simplify it, like if it was me at the wheel, I'd be like, let's just get the OT stuff done. Like these guys, these mains, like that's going to be like most of it. Like once we get these characters, that's going to be like 98% of what everybody our age is looking for, and we can shut up. and then you can move on to the next thing. Because I think everybody is struggling. Like we just talked about the Rogue One stuff, that we don't even have the main crew from Rogue One. We don't have the Bad Batch. We're missing a lot of characters from new media. And the struggle is that, I mean, everybody has different collecting habits, but me, if I'm just getting a figure in isolation, I'm not interested in it. If I can't display it interacting with other figures or a set piece or a vehicle, it does nothing for me. Like you talked about the Vel. Vel's a really good figure, but what am I doing with it? It has no place in my collection. So I think it's cool that they made it. I just wish they made either 6 other figures from the scene that you could kind of display, or don't make it at all and do, you know, an OT Ben Kenobi. Like there's just too many forces at work that make it easy. And it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you're Hasbro, part of me like feels bad, like they don't have enough of a runway to do the things. I know we interact with them all the time at like conventions and whatever, and you know that they're really into what they do and they're fans and they want to make all these things just as much as we want to buy them. But it's a struggle. It's tough. So I don't know. Like there's no one answer. Like any question we would get as to what should come next or what's more important, there is no real answer to it. And it's not because Hasbro is blind to what the fans want. They just don't have the way to get everything out quick enough for all of us to be happy about it.
Yeah, especially at the rate at which, you know, there's new shows and animation and video games and stuff coming out. There's a lot of holes to be filled. That didn't come out right. Anyway, so yeah, this is really cool. And you said, I heard you, I think it was on Tim's show, Chris, where you said that the mains start with A New Hope, but you know they don't, it doesn't end there. It continues. No. Like, you know, we really need like some of those Revenge of the Sith characters.
I would say, you know, A New Hope was the in most need, but Revenge of the Sith is to me number 2. We need to get a definitive Anakin from that, and can't have a definitive Anakin without a definitive Obi-Wan to go with him. The one we have isn't good enough. Even the one with ball jointed hips isn't good enough. So, you know, it's an ongoing thing to make the mains. And again, I think you stick to those are the figures that at brick and mortar are just going to scream to me off the shelves. In fact, you know, if I had to, I always say when fans, you know, request a figure of Hasbro, would you bet your house on it? Because you're literally asking that person at Hasbro to bet their livelihood and potentially the way they pay their mortgage or their rent on what you're asking them to do. So I always say, you know, and the phrase I hate that comes up a lot is everyone wants. Well, no, everyone is maybe you and the 10 people in your echo chamber that you talk to, and that's not enough of a population to, you know, support a figure. So, you know, whenever you ask Hasbro to make something, you know, would you bet your house on it? A definitive episode 3 Anakin Skywalker, I would bet my house, I would bet my, you know, retirement funds, I would bet, you know, my entire collection on that one doing, you know, gangbusters business for Hasbro.
Yeah. Certainly, and not just a new head on a body that dates back to Evolutions.
Yeah, exactly. And new, really gangly, way too long arms.
Yeah. Yeah, and that would be great. I mean, next year is the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. You know, I was really disappointed there wasn't at least like 1 or 2 figures from Phantom Menace this year. But you know, an Anakin would be like, you know, just low hanging fruit, easy money.
Yeah.
You know, with Obi-Wan, I mean, you could even, you know, you could really build that out with like a new Sidious or Grievous or whatever. And you know, I'm sure those would all be pretty solid. But yeah, hopefully the momentum continues, and you know, we continue to see some of these direly needed main characters continue to filter throughout the line. All right, so the next part of this right here, which looks like we have 130 with us. Thank you guys for hanging out with us still, and if you're just joining in, thank you for being here with us. We appreciate you. Kind of want to dispel a little bit of misinformation that's going around there, you guys, because there's a lot of videos on YouTube right now about the Cantina and live streams about, you know, people that kind of, you know, haphazardly collect Star Wars, you know, kind of making videos. And, you know, a lot of the information that's kind of going out there isn't entirely accurate. So I kind of just wanted to touch on a few things. Because, you know, we were talking about casual collectors earlier, but like if you're a casual collector, like, you know, you might not have the full details and be, you know, inadvertently saying things like that the HasLab doesn't come with the Cantina bandstand that doesn't exist, never existed in the movie. So that's one that comes to mind right away. There was no stage, there was no bandstand, there was no special designated modal nodes like place in the Cantina. They were just filmed when they brought filming to LA. Those were pickup shots that they did, putting them in a regular alcove that you saw all the other aliens in. Same thing. They use the same one for everything. So all you need to do is put them in one of your alcoves, and that's all you need. That's it.
Yeah, John Lindquist did a good job of breaking that down of where the Cantina was filmed. It's filmed in 3 different locations. It's filmed in Tunisia for the exterior. It's filmed at Elstree Studios for the most of the interiors, and anything close up or the glam shots was filmed at Hollywood Center Studios in LA. And none of those shots have anything to do with each other. It's all edited into the final film. So and if you look closely, Brett's done a breakdown of this. At no point when you see one of the modal nodes do you see any other character. I don't think you see any other character. You definitely don't see anybody that was exclusively at the London shoot. But I don't think you see any other character in there. So that was just a shot in isolation that gets edited into the movie, and it looks like through movie magic, it looks like they're all there together, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we couldn't even tell like how many modal nodes there were. Like you had to like go back and look at like all the behind the scenes shots and whatever. Are there 5? Like the Hasbro did what, 5 or 6 in the set originally. So a lot of
right. The old one. Yeah.
The original one, and then the new one has pretty much everybody, but
yeah.
the original set had just enough to give you the 5 or 6, and then you look at some shots like, wait, there's an instrument missing, and wait, if there's an instrument missing, would they do an extra instrument? Like, no, they're missing a guy. There's a guy. No, there's 2 guys missing. Oh, there's also a guy sitting on the side who was like the backup guy. Like, and you don't really catch all this stuff, so. There's so much detail. I think all of us, no matter how many times we've seen these movies or researched it or talked, there's always some like random new thing, like that crocodile head that they designed. Like a lot of people, that was the thing. So like we can't even catch like some of these basics, but it's like mind-boggling that the shots, like Chris said, there's like 3 different places and they don't mesh in any real way. It's just editing. So there's a great opportunity for us armchair quarterbacks here to go and yell at Hasbro for foolishly omitting the stage that just never existed in the first place.
And I love trying to figure out how many like modal nodes there are, because it's kind of like analyzing the Zapruder film. And so you're looking at, wait, whose elbow was that? There's an elbow right there. That's somebody else. Where did that elbow come from? Oh, that's somebody off to the side, playing the what I don't remember what the drum set's called when you're doing it.
It's like the I see I think Jason does it on Yak Face when he's putting the murals together for the Black Series, and he's trying to like guess what figure. And there's like an elbow or a thumb showing off the edge of one of the pictures, and try to like guess who that new character is. The modal notes are kind of the same way.
He usually gets it too.
Yeah,
a little piece of armor, that's Clone Commander Fox. You can clearly tell.
Yeah, and it is.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that. What else, Chris and Brett? What else have you been seeing out there that isn't entirely accurate that people are seeing?
I don't know if it's entirely accurate, but the griping about the the lack of the floor, which to me just a floor would lock you into a footprint, and that to me destroys the nature of this HasLab, which is to be I'm regurgitating what I've just written this week. The beauty of it is that it's not meant for you to mold your display around it. It's meant to mold to your display, and so you can, again, as you showed that shot of Matt and Emily showing it on 2 shelves, a floor would just lock you into a footprint, and that would destroy to be the flexibility of it.
Yeah, I don't get the floor thing either. I'm also sorry. My Star Wars room is in a complete disarray right now, so I can't see. But my memory serves, which, as we talked about, it usually doesn't. The throne room set, it has the raised area in the back, but it doesn't have a floor either, right? Which is actually a key component because the floor had the trap door.
Right.
And that I didn't really hear too many people complaining about that. I don't know why everybody's going nuts about the fact that the thing doesn't have a floor. Your shelf is the floor. Like that's it. I don't get it. I get it. Like people like to complain about things and everybody's got their own hangups about whatever it is they collect. But that one just utterly escapes me why the floor has taken on a life of its own.
Yeah. You can grab a placemat from the kitchen.
Yeah, there you go. Done. The floor of the cardboard, the old Power of the Force 2, not the Cantina, but the Jabba's throne room had, if I'm not mistaken, it had like almost like a cartoonish, like a Rancor like face, like underneath the grate that was painted on, like really silly looking. So I don't know. Whenever you get a little too creative with things like that, I think it tends to take away. I'd rather just have the shelf. I don't know. It doesn't bother me at all. And
I also think some of the people that are complaining, I think they say that like they're never going to back it for one reason or another. But they say things like this as like almost like an excuse, like, oh, it doesn't, I'm not going to back it because it doesn't have a floor. And I just, I keep thinking back to the Rancor campaign. And Bret will get this reference. It reminded me of Peter Griffin when he was negotiating to have Handy Quacks go on television, where they gave him everything he wanted, and he still went, no deal. That was his. They gave into all his demands. He goes, no. The Rancor, we're not backing it until you give us the Rancor Keeper. Okay, here's the Rancor Keeper, base offering for free. No deal. I kind of think it's the same way. Like, are these people? If you add the floor, I'll back it. If you add the floor, I'll back it. Okay, here's the floor. Where's the roof? I'm not going to back it till we get the roof. They'll just move the goalposts on it. So.
Yeah,
because that's what we want too, is a roof so that we could cover it completely and not see what's inside.
Well, it's like the people. One of Bret's best burns, which he probably doesn't remember, is the people that want a spherical Death Star, and I think he said something like, "Just go get a beach ball and paint it gray and put it on your shelf. If you want a spherical Death Star playset, I mean, it's just gonna be a ball on your shelf." So.
Yeah, or you remember that BB-8 playset that opened up and it was like First Order inside? It was weird, but
it was kind of like, it was cute for what it was, but like there's no way that a TVC collector would tolerate something like that. And you get it, like it gives you the impression that there's a roundness to the thing because it's a planet or a base or whatever the heck Starkiller base was. It was a thing inside a moon. I don't know what it was, but whatever. But like it's still large enough that the hint of it being a sphere is lost on anyone who's looking at it or inside it. So I don't know if it goes back to the old day, the not Kenner, the Palatoy, right? The Death Star, the cardboard Death Star, which was like a half a globe. Because it was a kid's toy and, that's what it was. But I don't see why that's something that anybody would want today. It makes no sense to have the walls curved in any way, shape, or form. I don't know, whatever.
And this is actually what kind of the reason why I think the Cantina isn't going, running, already backed, is because with the Cantina and the Death Star, if you ask 10 fans what their ideal Cantina playset or what their ideal Death Star playset is, you're going to get 6 or 7 different answers. Some people wanted the Cantina to mimic the Lego set, which I believe opens up. You can you can have it be the closed and it looks like the building, and then you can open it up on hinges to open it up. And so some people wanted that. Some people, like us here, we're happy with the one that that's the one they gave us. The idea of the Lego concept, each wing in 3 3/4 inches is 32 inches long. So unless you had 5 feet of shelf space to display the opened up Cantina, I don't know what you would do with that.
I don't know, Chris. If you turn around, there might be close to 5 feet of shelf space behind your head there.
behind here. No,
Yeah.
I've been over this. That is that's 48 inches.
48. Yep.
And when I did the plans for this, I did 48 inches because I thought the barge was just under 48 inches. That because the barge was supposed to be right there, and it's just over 48 inches, so it doesn't fit in my shelf that I paid to have custom built to fit the barge. And the worst part is that part of my permanent display is the one of my most prized collectibles, which has been upgraded by Mr. Stevie right there, where he signed it. This was the postcard that they gave out at Toy Fair for the barge. And I always have this on display. And if I just turned it around when I made the plans and saw that it said over 4 feet long, I would have made these shelves just a tick bigger. The nicest thing, I'm not, I don't like being like mushy and emotional, but Steve wrote on this when he endorsed it, he said, "We made this together," which isn't true. Hasbro made it, but I kind of got a little choked up when he wrote that on the card when he signed it for me.
Very nice. And yeah, hey Mike, how's it going? So thank you for that, Mike. Mike says, just want on my TUC fam to know I'm rooting for the HasLab from afar. That's awesome because there is a segment of folks, and it's not just like Black Series collectors, but there are like, I have seen some stuff online where people are like actively like saying this needs to fail, that do collect TVC, and that's a little unfortunate to see.
I don't know who would benefit in what world would any TVC any, for lack of a better term, faction, you're into whatever aspect of collecting. I don't know who would benefit from this thing failing. I don't get it.
Actively campaigning against it is the biggest own goal you could possibly have. It's ridiculous. I don't even root against it. I can't stand that the Black Series exists because it's splitting the budget. But I don't root for Black Series HasLab. So I back the Rancor. In fact, I back 2 Rancors. So Star Wars HasLab's failing, no matter what it is not good for the Star Wars brand.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, like as far as dispelling misinformation, is I saw a couple of videos earlier today where they were saying, "Oh, I'm not going to back it specifically because I know that they're going to release the Tonnika sisters and woo her later in the main line." But there's zero indication. It sounds like the opposite. If anything, they're not going to release those outside of this project.
Right. The Ghost went to 20,000. Has there been any announcement? There's no reason not to. Has there been any announcement about releasing the exclusive figures outside of the Ghost? No, and there's no reason to not to. So they're not going to release these, especially on card. There's no way I could see these getting released again on card.
Yeah. I think this is the only way you get those 3 figures. I don't think. Yeah. So it's so important that this HasLab gets funded. The other ones, maybe, who knows? If they get unlocked, it sounds like that's what Steve said. If they get unlocked, big if right. They do, then they will consider releasing them on alternate cards. But if they don't get unlocked, then no, probably not going to happen. So
I think that was the piece that was missing for a lot of people. They didn't get the has to be unlocked part.
I got that from the live stream, but apparently I just invented that because nobody else seems to have gotten that. Because Brett, I remember I said it to you right after the live stream. I said, no, only if they reach those tiers will they get released outside of the HasLab. But
yeah, it was missed by the greater community, and then I think when they specified that the first 3 figures would only be with the HasLab, then the assumption was, well, the last 3 could come out in some other way, and then it just had to be hammered home. Like, yes, maybe, but only if it hits 17,000 and they get unlocked. Everybody's like, oh, they're definitely making Greedo. There's no indication that it would if it didn't hit. Was it 11,000?
11,000.
get to Greedo, there's no indication that we would ever see that Greedo. And I, for one, when I first saw the tiers, I kind of had a big for Greedo and for Nabrin Leeds, because Chris knows, like I'm way lean towards new characters, and as while they may be a little dated, like I'm like, let's focus on something that we don't already have. But then as soon as you see the pictures, you're like, oh my god, that like it's so far and away beyond the ones that we have. Like, oh, I want it, I totally want it. But yeah, they got to get unlocked, otherwise we'll never see them.
And Bret, you as a toy photographer, you really need that Greedo, because he needs that hinged wrist for the Utagutu solo scene where he kind of like bends the blaster down into his chest.
Oh, for sure.
So you're gonna love it if you get him.
If yes. Yeah. Didn't they say? And I watched it afterwards. I wasn't able to watch it live, but one detail. Sorry, it's a random side here. They mentioned that the alcove that Han and Greedo are supposed to go in, there's like a piece of the plaster that's where Han picks at or something. Did they say something like that, like in the decoration on the wall, or did I completely imagine that?
No, they did say something about that there was one alcove where it's like the plaster's ripped or something.
Because there's like where he's like absentmindedly when he's talking to Greedo, like, which is one of my favorite things about this. Just a terrible figure now, but it was one of the. I don't even remember what year it was, but
the contact, the contact,
right?
Yeah,
where he's specifically like reaching back to pick at the plaster. Like that was the great. I love like those little very specific like figures that Hasbro makes every once in a while. So and even though that figure is garbage by today's standards, you might have to stick him in there just so he could pick at the plaster.
And that figure can cross his legs too, which is.
Yes. Yeah,
pretty cool for the time.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was. I always thought he was picking at the plaster as like a distraction, like to Greedo, so you wouldn't actually see he was like trying to unlock his blaster.
Yeah, it's a good distraction, so it could shoot first.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation.
I'm going to shut off the Celtics, who are down by 31 points here, so I can stop looking off to my right here. On to Monday night.
I think we talked about this before. Everyone who's watching this should be, I don't know if we should be amazed and grateful that Chris is here instead of watching the Celtics, or we should just feel that he is a terrible fan for not watching the game first instead of being here. I don't know.
It's like choosing between the deluxe or the standard edition of this HasLab. You can't go wrong either way.
And he's awake, which we appreciate too.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Awesome. So one other thing I want to mention is I have seen some folks kind of having concerns that the Cantina is too clean. Do we have any thoughts on that, as far as, is it missing some deco? Is it something that maybe people should add on their own if they feel that it needs it, or is it pretty more accurate than we would think? Because it was a really dark scene. When you see it, you don't see how dirty or clean it is. It's really like dimly lit in the movie.
Bret, you had a thought on this?
No, I that was how it appeared to me, and I am definitely not a customizer, so in no way, shape, or form would I put any sort of third-party decoration touching the HasLab should I ever get this, if it gets funded. But it did look a little on the clean side. I don't know if that's just because it's the prototype, but that's exactly right. Like, we don't really know, but I think we all probably make the assumption that it's a dirty, dingy place, and it probably should show that a little bit, like with some kind of darker wash on the walls. You could see the plaster, you could see cracks in the wall, and I think there's some of that detail, like over the arches, the painted detail that's a little faded and chipped in certain spots. So I think that's really great. But the foundation of the wall itself looks kind of pristine to me. I don't know, and I'm normally not picky about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm normally not either, but I agree with Bret. And maybe we could have sacrificed 10 or 20 cups to get a little wash. I'm not sure I need 104 or whatever it is cups that are going into this.
It's just more cups to lose. Yeah,
or to when you bang your shelf with the slightest amount of force and have them all tumble over. That's the thing that drives me nuts. My current Cantina display is just, I always see cups tipped over. And if you look at Matt's photos that he did, in one of them, one of the cups is tipped over. I'm like, one of us. Google gobble, one of us.
It's terrifying. I lose sleep over that stuff. Like now I'm going to be like super ridiculous about counting all the cups, making sure I haven't lost any of them. I have every single one. Yeah, I don't need that kind of stress in my life. Keep the cups and give us the wash on the walls, please.
Brett and I can disagree on everything, but our OCD about losing accessories, we're like completely in sync on that. Brett would probably love this one. I was actually just playing with my Cantina display the other day, and I think we all know that sound of an accessory hitting the floor, like that sound of dread, like a small accessory. And one of the cups hit the floor. I heard it tink, and I'm like, I was trying to echolocate it. I'm like, oh, it went over here, and I'm like down, literally on the floor, like I'm a CSI unit doing some oblique lighting with a flashlight. Where did that cup go? Where did that cup go? And after a half hour, I gave up. Then I'm walking around, I'm like, oh, I feel like I got a pebble in my shoe. Take off my shoe. The cup it bounced off the floor and went in my shoe, and that's where it was. But it's still a happy ending because I found the accessory.
Nice. I think I've lost a few of those glasses over the years too that came with the various bar sections and stuff, but doesn't look like I'm going to need them anymore after this new one. Hopefully fun. So
I'm just happy that my collection room now has like a hardwood floor, if you can see down here, because when my old collection room was a carpeted floor, and if something fell and hit it, it's like gone. I don't care. It's gone. Whatever.
Slowly digested over 1,000 years.
Hasbro is getting more and more daring with these tiny, tiny accessories. I think I don't know if it's the first one, but the one that really like threw me was the little comlink that went with the TK421 Stormtrooper.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't even believe they made this thing. Like, it was cool that they made it, but I was like, oh my God, now I can't like sleep well knowing that at any point this thing is going to disappear. And I feel like they've made a lot of things in the last couple of years to rival that.
Well, because he's wearing TK421, it's on the new Luke Stormtrooper.
See? Yeah. It's terrifying.
Middle-aged Tiki Man collecting Star Wars says, thankfully the deco budget went into photoreal chest hair. Hollandet's asking, is Angela back in the Cantina? I'm going to talk about this at the very end because there is something regarding that I'm going to bring up. All right. So the last part of this, gentleman, is why you should back the bar. Like I said, we have the number tallied here is how many units are pledged right now. But at the end of the show, we're going to go back and see if the number is increased. All right. If it decreases, that's going to be really weird, but hopefully it increases. And if you do back it during the stream, let me know. Definitely comment here that you've backed it during the stream. Hopefully you've already backed it, but if you're doing it now, better late than never. So why should people back the bar, you guys? Like, why? Like, we've talked about, it has the Tonnika sisters, it has the Wooher, it has with chest hair, it has all these stretch goals that we can hopefully try and hit. And it's like a definitive Cantina diorama display that'll permanently house all of your figures. But what other reasons are there that people should absolutely not miss out on this HasLab?
I think the one you said, what you said is the primary reason. You should get this for your collection by itself for no other reason. Anything that collects and elevates your display, and that's what these things do. They elevate your display. You go from a blank shelf to something with a background and an environment. It's just that's why the Bard was so great. It took all those figures, if you have been collecting over the time, took all those figures and elevated them into a home. So that's by far the primary reason. But, I think we do need to talk about the secondary reasons. And I don't know if you have that Instagram account, Victoria, if you can share it, the one that he was doing the projections of it. I don't know I'm sorry to put you on the spot about that.
No, that's fine. Whose was it?
I sent it to you in Messenger. It's I think I did. I cannot pronounce it. Rives Junction Night, I think.
Oh yeah, him. Okay, yeah. Let me pull it up. Rives Junction Night.
Yeah. So, he points out that the last day always on these HasLabs always exceeds the first day. So it's that one with the bar graphs right there. Just showing what the last day did for these HasLabs compared to the first day. And this Cantina did 2,400, I believe, on the first day. So I think we can expect 3,000 or so on the last day. And it's actually, that's just the last day. In the last 3 days, it tends to start ramping up in the last 3 days of the campaign. So I think based on that, it's pretty safe to say that this is going to back. But unless there's some sort of surprise, some sort of sweetener from Hasbro that can really push us over the edge, he said he projects it to come in around 10,000 units. That would mean 10,000 Woohers and, more importantly, Tonnika sisters have never been made before in existence. Those are going to be, if that's all it does, if all it does is 10,000, those are going to be some of the scarcest figures in the entire history, going back to the vintage Kenner era of action figures in the 3 3/4 inch scale. And if you feel if you miss out on a rare thing, I know it's expensive just to get those figures. But if you miss out on a rare thing and that's important to you as a collector, it's going to eat at you if you don't back it and then just see these being like true, absolute modern holy grails. And the thing I said, it's $400. The buying price is $400. I know that's ridiculously expensive for 3 figures, but how many people would love to pay $400 right now for the SDCC mouse droid and Salacious Crumb? People would love to only pay $400 for those. I'm pretty confident, if this only backs around that level, that's the type of scarcity you're talking about with these figures. So to me, there's no again, if you like having the things that not everybody has, this is your opportunity to have those centerpiece items in your collection. And to me, there's no downside to backing at any time of that. There's three scenarios. It doesn't back. You don't get charged. It just creeps over the line. Yeah, you get charged, but you have these absolute grail items in your collection. It goes over the line. Well, now you get the stretch goals with their exclusive figures. To me, just as far as a collectability standpoint, there's no downside to backing this because of those exclusive figures. And again, I cannot stress how rare in the grand scheme of things they will be if it only gets to around 10,000.
Yeah, those would be some majorly rare figures that not everybody's going to have. And not only that, but you said how would people love to pay $400 for Salacious Crumb and the mouse droid? I have people telling me all the time, Victoria, I wish I would have backed the barge. I wish I would have spent the $500 it cost at the time to have gotten that. I wish I would have gotten the Razor Crest for whatever it costs, $400, $350, whatever it was. It's never going to cost less than this. It's a lot of money. It is, right? $400 or $500 for the deluxe. It's not chump change. It is a little, it is pricey, but it's never going to cost less than that, right? You're always in a couple of years, who knows? If it is only 8,000 that are backed, it just barely makes it over the line. You're not going to find it for very cheap on eBay in a few years. Even if it's 10,000, that's barely anything. So it's it's if there's any way you can do it and you're leaning towards doing it, absolutely try and do it, because you don't want to miss out on something as pivotal as the Cantina, right? This incredible moment that everybody remembers, everybody loves, and it's a stop and watch moment in the film. No matter if you just have it on the background, the Cantina's on. I got to watch that. It's a really important piece of Star Wars history, and you're going to want to have it. So if there's any way you can swing it, definitely try and get this Cantina, back this bar. What was the Instagram? It is Rives Junctionite. It is, I'll link it afterwards in the description. Saw a couple other comments on here. Hey, Tom, how's it going? Thank you for joining in. Not only buying it so that Big gets the Tonikas, I don't think this should be made because female figures from Poisonous. I know, Tom, I know you're joking. So he's getting at the whole Todd McFarlane thing. Only 3 weeks left. Yep, only 3 weeks left. Yeah. One thing that I also want to mention too, though, is this is kind of a unique thing, right? And I saw a really good comment. I'm trying to find it here regarding this, but this is a world building piece. Here it is. It's from Rick. He says, backing the Cantina shows Hasbro that world building is still important to our 3 3/4 inch fandom. Backing this project will increase our chances at future TVC playsets / dioramas, such as the Death Star. Yeah. If this funds, then that sends a clear message that, this is still the world building scale. This is still the scale at which, we need these environmental diorama pieces, these displays to fully build out our scenes. And if it doesn't fund, you're probably not going to get a Death Star. You're probably not going to get, whatever else it is that but if it does, that's going to bode very well for the future. So back the bar.
And I think it was more than that. And I'm not trying to guilt anyone into buying something they don't want just to support the line. Sure. Even though I kind of did that with the Ghost. I kind of did that. But, I'm not worried about this backing. I think all the projections, if you look at the historical, it should back. I'm not too worried about that. But right now it's not going to smash it. It's not going to crush the tiers or anything like that. And I think if TVC did that 3 times in a row, if this show is a lot of TVC collectors, if TVC did that 3 times in a row, we all want to start pulling even with TBS as far as the love they get. If we do that, I truly feel TVC starts to draw neck and neck with TBS because it shows, and just again, look at what they announced with this, the commitment to the ecosystem around the HasLab. They, in one live stream, they pipelined and revealed 9 100% newly tooled figures. We only get 12 to 14 100% newly tooled figures in a year. They're saying, the mainline's one thing, but through this HasLab, we can really bump up the new tooling budget. So I think if we smash this one, we do pull up with TBS, but in a different way. It's kind of the old model, the way, G.I. Joe and Star Wars used to work, where yes, TVC figures don't make them a lot of money. That, they often say it costs them the same to make a TVC figure and a TBS figure. One gets $25, one gets $17. Guess which one's making more money? Guess why TBS gets more love? So they're never going to make the money on the TVC figures, but it could be a little bit of the old model where if they give the figure support to the HasLab, they make the money on the HasLabs. And if we crush that, we can show them this is how TVC can get more figures. You're not going to make the money on the figures. You'll make it on the big ticket items because we'll support it. So that's another reason why, if you're on the fence and you love TVC and you wanted to see it pull even with TBS, crushing this HasLab will do it. If we do it for the 3rd time in a row.
4th time in a row.
Well, the barge didn't really. I'm talking 20,000 plus.
That was a big number.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you want to add, Brett?
No, I just think, to reiterate, I know these HasLabs end up being a little charged time because there's a lot of talk and pressure. If you don't buy this, then you're not supporting the line. I think what you guys said, buy it if you want it. That's first and foremost. If it's for your collection and it makes sense and you want to buy it. And then secondarily to that, I don't know that I have really seen anybody disappointed or regretting their decision to buy a previous HasLab. They've only regretted not doing it.
Right.
So if you do it and then something happens, you decide it was a good way for you to spend your money, or you don't have the room for it, or you have to downsize, whatever, you can sell it and get at least what you paid for it. Maybe it's a little bit of a burden to try to do that, but it's overall, I think that's the main thing, is that these things tend to make collectors happy when they have it, and they kind of make people like, oh man, I wish I would have gotten it if they didn't. So those are like the two main things for me. But I think Chris and myself and the community that we share is very much like not into forcing people or shaming people for not doing it, or feeling guilty if they say they collect but they don't do it. I don't want somebody to buy a Cantina because it's gonna make me happier. The reason why people collect is because it's a hobby that they enjoy, and that's what this should be. But yeah, there seems to be, to me, no real downside to backing it if you're a TVC collector. There's always a way to kind of later on kind of get out of it by selling it off if it's something you decided you didn't really want to do.
Totally. I just want to follow, as we're saying, not shaming people for not buying it, but I am personally going to shame people that campaign against it. TVC collectors that campaign against it. There's no need for that. You should be rooting for this. And if you're an influencer, and even if you're not going to buy it, you should still be promoting it, because it's good for the line. It's good for 3 3/4. There should be absolutely none of this garbage about campaigning against it.
I seriously need somebody to tell me, like, what is the end game for that? Like, what is the goal? Like, what would be the positive outcome of the thing failing? Like, what do they want to see that would be a result? And so, like, great, it failed. Now we can do X. What is X?
It's personally, I think it's something that's a plague in this hobby. It's the selfishness. Like, I want what I want, come hell or high water, and for the good of the line or for the detriment of the line, I want what I want. I mean, we've seen this, all three of us have been in this, for decades now, and in this hobby for decades now. There, some people, just want to see the world burn, for lack of a better word. Sometimes, I want my Wilrow hood, and I don't care if it peg warms. I want it, and it destroys the line. I want my Yarna.
Yeah, Tom makes a good point here too, that YouTubers get more clicks when they're negative and actively trying to trash on something. So there's that too, unfortunately.
Is that why I know this is a little vulgar, is that why so many YouTubers, when they go on camera, they look like they have poop in their fur? Why are so many YouTubers grouchy?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. That's for sure. Cool, you guys. So, yeah, I think we covered it pretty well. And so, we're going to continue focusing on the Cantina all month long. We got guests lined up every single week that are going to be coming on to talk about the HasLab Cantina and updating as to where it is. The other thing I wanted to mention is, back, it was 2018 that I met Angela in person and went out for coffee with her. And I said, hey, if this ever becomes a reality, you don't have to worry about buying the figures, because that was one of her hangups previously, was that she'd have to buy figures of herself. I said, hey, no, the fan community is going to come through for you. But now that this is actually a possibility, all these years later, I think we can do that. I think we can put together a group buy to get Angela her set for this HasLab, should it fund. If 100 people chip in $5 each, we can easily do it. So the way that I'm looking to do this is, if anyone is interested in getting in on a group buy for Angela, no matter how much you want to chip in, please message me. You can email me, victoriascantina@yahoo.com, or you can message me on any social media platform I'm on, and we can connect and talk about how to do that. If for some reason this doesn't fund, we'll just send you your donation back. No problem. But we definitely don't want her to have to pay $500, $400 to get one of these sets, because that is pricey. But I do want to do a group buy for her. So if anybody's interested in doing that, please let me know. We'll pull our funds together, and we will get her own, not just the figure of herself, but also her sister, her twin sister, and woo her, and the entire Cantina playset. And I guess we can end things there with one final segment. If you guys have added anything, I'm kind of dreading this one here. If you guys have added anything to your collections recently that you want to show off and maybe even brag about a little bit. All right, Chris, here's your moment right here. Go and show us.
I can never do this. I can never get like the camera to this thing, but I'm a little disappointed in the plastics art I've been vocal about from the beginning, but absolutely finally have for standing poses, we have a definitive Princess Leia, and I am so happy about that. I'd be so thrilled if I actually find one of these in stores, even though I have it already. If I find one in stores, it'll be one of my favorite purchases I've made in a long, long time. So anybody that's looking forward to this figure, get psyched about it. It's a great figure.
Nice. Well, I'm very jealous of that, as I've expressed a time or two. Bret, have you added anything to your collection?
Nothing too fancy lately, and most of my stuff is kind of buried. The most recent TBC thing I got was the Clone Wars inspired the Ahsoka and the 3 droids set, which I thought was pretty cool. But I'm pretty stoked about this release, the Clone Troopers, because I'm a 501st guy. So I feel like I made the right decision. I don't know, what was it, a year or two ago, when they basically re-released the 501st character that was just a horrible VC-45 mold, and they re-released it. And I originally had bought like 2 cases of that thing to kind of add to my ranks, and then I just like immediately was like, no, this figure sucks. Like, I don't want this. I'm not adding this to my collection. So I canceled those orders, and then was rewarded by them putting out like a really top-notch clone of the 501st. So I bought like 8 of these things. If they do go on some sort of clearance blowout, I'll probably grab a few more. I'm only disappointed that there's just one in the box.
Yeah.
There's the Ahsoka clone as well, which is sort of 501st, but yeah, it's a pretty cool figure. So the other thing I'm waiting on now, it's very delayed, is a sideshow piece, which is a 501st on a ATRT, which I'm kind of stoked about, but that's been delayed for about seems like 10 years at this point. So I don't know, it's supposed to be coming soon, so I'm waiting for that.
Right on. Cool. Chris, did you have something else?
I forgot to say, I know like not everybody has the new Kanan yet, but right now that's my figure of the year so far.
Nice.
The new Kanan.
Yeah, he is solid for sure. For me, I've gotten a few things. Nothing major. Well, I got some cool stuff. So for me, I have, this isn't Star Wars. At least the first one isn't Star Wars. Sorry, I'm being a little noisy here, trying to get to it. But I got the Mattel Jurassic World Hammond collection. Got the Giganotosaurus. This is very recently released. But they just came out, they went on sale like 2 weeks after it released for $15 off. So I got Hammond collection is like the TVC of the Mattel Jurassic line. It's not the same quality. It's not nearly TVC, but that's kind of what the intent is. They're trying to capture like the more adult-oriented, like detail-focused audience. And they also released in that same line the Therizinosaurus. And this one was also on sale, $15 off. So I picked it up as well. So I'm excited to open those up and get them on the shelf. And then I also got a lightsaber. So on DisneyStore.com, they listed up the Galactic Star Cruiser lightsaber. So that's kind of cool because it was only exclusive at the Halcyon Galactic Star Cruiser previously, but now I guess they had surplus on those, and they went ahead and listed the lightsaber. So I really like the design. So I went ahead and picked it up. It feels really great, like in hands, great to wield. And I think it's a pretty good looking saber. So those are the 3 things I have acquired this year. Those who are tuning in, let me know what you've added to your collection as well. Definitely curious. One thing I do want to add, by the way, is, if this funds, and again, if anyone wants to chip in for it, contact me. I will personally deliver it to Angela because I want to kind of do a little bit of a once this is all over, I intend to do a little bit of a film/documentary on this whole process, and I will personally deliver it to her and that'll be part of this video. So let me know, you guys. Awesome. Well, any final thoughts, you guys, that you wanted to mention before we wrap up here?
Just to reiterate what you said, Victoria, if you're on the fence, it's never going to be less expensive than it is right now with the Cantina. And pulling what Bret said, to me, there's no downside. Your money will be tied up for a year while it's being produced. But after that, if you decide you don't want it, you'll get it all back and more. So if you have the funds and you're on the fence, it's safest to back it, and you won't regret it. Either way, you'll either love it or you'll be able to sell it for more than you paid.
Nice.
I would say let's just get it done. I mean, this is about as close to the real dream project that we can get for OT collectors. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. See how far it can go. I'm hoping it makes it to the end. The full 6-figure backing, but yeah, I don't really see a downside to joining. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Awesome. Just as far as what our audience has picked up, Jerry added Han and Stormtrooper outfit. Peak Obi-Wan is collecting vintage Ewoks and got animated Logray.
Nice.
Rick says that he got 14 characters needed to have in the Cantina, including the Stan Solo speeder. Very nice. That is pretty impressive. William says that he's added all of these aliens here: Bomb Bim Dim, Cade, Muftak, to hopefully populate the Cantina. Also some G.I. Joe, Comic Compendium Kickstarter, and Back to Deluxe and Basic Cantina. Nice. 2 Cantinas. Very cool. Very cool. Stiff Kitten. the picture's cracking me up. Stiff Kittens, Clone Trooper and ATRT, Hot Toys. Very cool. That is a good acquisition as well. All right. Very cool. I think we are good here, you guys. So I'm sure everybody tuning in probably knows that you're on banthaskull.com. That's your website. That is where they can go to catch the latest news, all the articles about the vintage collection. But where else, Chris, can our audience go to look you up on the internet?
Banthaskull.com on Twitter, or X as it's now known. And then if you want my personal Instagram account, it's Chris Swansky on Instagram. I don't run the Bantha Skull Instagram account. Somebody else does. So he'll have to talk about that.
It's a full-time job.
Well, he hasn't posted on it since the Garfield administration.
We just need to archive it and just kind of keep it pristine at this point.
Send it to AFA, put it in acrylic.
There you go.
And Bret, where can everybody find you on social media?
I don't even know what social media is. They can find me maybe doing a once a week. They could do a once a week thing on Bantha Skull, and I'll comment once in a while. That's about the extent of how people can reach me. Or they can ask Chris, and Chris can get a hold of me sometimes.
Yeah.
He's like my go-between.
He's your agent.
Between the real world. I'm a medium. I'm not even sure Bret's alive. He could be a phantom, and I'm just a medium that conjures him here. A little bit of a seance.
Nice. Well, thanks to both of you for being on and talking about the HasLab. Like I said, we're going to continue focusing on this every Friday for the next month, basically until this project ends. Next week, I'm going to go ahead and announce, sorry, Jason, to do this, but we think he's going to be here, Middle-Aged Kiwi Man Collecting Star Wars, next Friday. Same time, a little bit earlier, 6 p.m. Pacific. John Miko from the Vintage Collection podcast will be on. And Jedi Niner, if you guys remember Janine, who was on, she was on earlier this year, will be with us as well. Has back the Cantina as well. And yeah, let's get this done, you guys. Back the bar, time for Tonnika, right here, time for Tonnika. We need to do a new one that says back the bar. And we want to get it done. This is like the dream project right here for many of us. Even if it's not your dream project, we want to see TVC continue to do wonders. So let's definitely do that. And yeah, let's take a look real quick and see where, before we leave, where how many numbers we're at since the stream started. So when it started, we were at, I'm going to refresh the page, 4,753. It is now at 4,760. So that number has gone up a little bit. I can't confirm that those numbers were all from this stream, from folks watching, but I like to think that maybe there was like one or two in there that came as a result of hanging out with us.
I just want to say that the weekends are, once we hit Friday, after 5 p.m., these HasLabs go very slowly. And I had in my mind, I kind of have this like goals in my mind. I wanted to hit 4,800 by Monday. And I think we're, based on this, we're going to blow past that. So I think it's looking good.
I agree. And thank you, Jerry, so much for the super sticker. We really appreciate that very much. All right, cool. Thanks again, you guys, for joining us today. I feel like there was one other thing I needed to mention, and unfortunately, it's not coming to me at this moment. But yeah, back the bar. Keep let your friends know. Not everybody knows. Hey, that there's a brand new Cantina playset. A lot of people have kind of disappeared, but if they knew, maybe they'd want such a playset in their collection. So let your friends know. Let your neighbors know, let your pets know that they can back the bar. And, we'll all have a merry old time putting these Cantina displays together in the next year and a half with all of these aliens finally having a permanent home. So thank you guys. Have a great night. No matter where you're tuning in from out in the galaxy, be well, be safe. And we'll see you on Cantina Social Hour next Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Take care.